This project was about taking romantic fiction to a very cold climate for Valentine's Day. But when we arrived there was no snow.
And we discovered that people were actually really, really friendly. One of the first things that happened to us was that a complete stranger came up to us and said, "You look lost. Can I show you where to go?"
And we were lost.
Yeah. We put some of the posters on the type of spaces that you find in any European city, in front of shops, on windows, electricity boxes, etc.
I like the idea with all of the placements that they're intermingled with posters and intermingled with street life, even though they are fine art prints editions that you'd usually find in a gallery space.
The cityscape or the streetscape was familiar on the one hand because you had the same types of shops, but what was quite strange was that there were just so few people. Eventually we just stopped really filming because all we were getting were shots of just one person walking along on their own. Even though this was a student town and it was
Valentine's Day. Yeah, it was really empty. Really, really empty. We were given gifts as we went around the city, and sometimes they weren't that appropriate.
I think we actually got a free eye test.
Yes, and we got tissues from Kleenex.
So you need to get your eyes examined, and you're probably going to end up crying. And
then you'll drink your Knorr soup.
Then you're going to drink
and some your chocolates.
You're going to drink some Knorr soup and eat chocolates because it didn't work out for you on Valentine's Day.
And then get your eyes tested.
And then you get your eyes tested so you make better luck next year. In the older parts of the town, you could really see an awful lot of pattern in the buildings. You could even see this on some of the furnishings that we saw in the Malmo museum. There was a lot of detail and ornamentation in things like quilts or beds.
What was really interesting about Malmo as a city was the fact that it spanned architectural thought from about the 12th century right through to the present day.
There was a submarine that you could go and see,
which is very Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I was kind of saying that.
Very romantic?
It wasn't very romantic, but it was very interesting because you really got to see how, before plastic, people used leather and rubber. It was just an interesting thing about materials, and it was really cramped.
I got very claustrophobic there. I actually had to leave. I couldn't believe that people would spend time in such a small space.
And this wasn't even in the water.
I know. I wanted to put some prints up around the Malmo's castle because there was a lot of exhibition spaces there, and I liked the idea of art being both inside an exhibition space and also in the environs around an exhibition space. From there we started to make our way out towards the turning torso and the harbour area.
What was really noticeable as well out this part of the town was that the idea of patterns that had been in all the old buildings, there was a modern equivalent where you had all these patterns again in all these new buildings.
Some of them almost looked like a quilt.
Yeah, they did with all the zigzags.
Yeah.
And then facing it, they were looking out onto this really grey, monochrome, bleak vista, which is actually where the Øresund Bridge goes across between Denmark and Sweden, which is now famous because of the TV series.
You really wanted to get a piece up here?
Yeah, I like the idea because, I thought people would be there walking their dogs and they'd notice posters that had dogs on them. But I also really like the idea that you had this really cold, austere landscape and that you'd have these posters to do with romance and romantic fiction in this landscape. It was kind of, love and cold climate or something.
Which is kind of coming full circle, and we got snow.